Well, it is 2024, a new year, which means we took the volume called 2023 and we placed that volume on the shelf. We reached up, grabbed a new volume, 2024, and we opened it up, and it's filled with a bunch of blank pages. And over the next 300 and whatever some days, those pages are all going to get filled with moments and memories, with emotions and feelings, with obstacles that we're going to have to overcome, and mountaintop moments where we will get to celebrate. But every page is going to be filled. And, we have an opportunity to at least influence what words goes on those pages. Now, it is the new year, and we're kicking off the new year with a new series titled Elevate, and it would be so easy to go right into the New Year's resolution type of thought process. In fact, Forbes came out with 2024 resolutions. They collected all this data from, people living in the United States. So this is connected to the United States. I'm not sure how it looks different across the different countries around the world, but they gathered all this data, and, this is what they discovered. And let me just, say this. None of this is going to be shocking. Out of the people that set New Year's resolutions and goals, the number one goal, 48% of people, they set a fitness goal. Did you? I know I did. This year, 2024, I'm going to run another marathon, and I already laid out my training plan. I put that training plan in my calendar, so I see it. It's in bright red. I can't miss it. And I set a fitness goal. In the number 2 spot, coming at 38% of people had this goal, finance. Maybe it's to get out of debt. Maybe it's to save some extra, put more towards retirement, become more generous, right? Maybe you have some of those finance goals. The number 3 spot, coming at 36% of people, had a mental health goal. I was really excited to see that, right? Mental health just doesn't happen by accident. It takes a ton of intentionality. It takes a ton of work, and it includes other people that will speak into you, helping you. And then in the 4th and 5th spots, it's just, in my viewpoint, just a different way to say fitness. And 4 and 5 is to lose weight and diet, right? Those are the top 5 goals that people had. Now, they kept going, and in slot 6 through 11, you had a list of varying things. You had time for loved ones, stop smoking, new skill, hobbies, work-life balance, and travel more, right? This is what people were like, hey, this is 2024, New Year's resolutions, new goals. And then all the way down in the 12th spot, at 5%, only 5% of people had this on one of their goals. Let's meditate. Now, that's kind of a benign spiritual word, kind of one of those quasi-spiritual words. And I don't know what makes up meditate for the Forbes data collector. But most spiritual frameworks, faith systems, they have some type of prayer meditation component attached to it. But what shocked me, again, was out of all the goals, out of all the New Year's resolutions, on number 12 on the entire list, was something spiritual for people. Now, keep that in mind. Hold on to that reality. And I want to share with you 3 more percentages. And again, as Forbes is collecting all this data, they shared this data to help us understand what's going on in people's life. The first percentage is 87%. They said that 87% of people were very or somewhat likely, they said themselves, that they were very or somewhat likely to keep their New Year's resolutions for the year. 87% of the people was like, yes, I'm going to, or I might, which I laughed at because right there's a pretty large chasm between likely or very likely and somewhat likely, right? Like very likely, like I'm going for it this entire year. I'm going to live out my New Year's resolutions. And then another group of people were like, there's a chance that I will. Now, as I read this article, they quickly qualified this 87%. They let us know that only 37% of all people actually set one goal or more, but at least one. Only 37 of all Americans, 37. that means the rest, the other 63%, they just don't set goals. They don't have New Year's resolutions. Maybe that's you. Maybe you have just like 2/3, right? You're just like, yeah, I've been there. I've done that. I just know I'm not going to accomplish them, so I'm just not going to do it. So this 87% who said they were very or somewhat likely is 87% of the 37% that actually established the goal. Then they went on and said 22% will keep them 2 months, and another 22% will only keep them 3 months. Right? So you think about 87% were very or somewhat likely to go all year, accomplish their New Year's resolutions, and Ford's like, no, they won't, which goes all the way down to this third percentage. What percentage do you think actually will keep their 2024 goals, New Year's resolution? What percentage would you put there? It's 1%. 1%, which means 1% of the 37% who actually set their goals, their resolutions. Only 1%. Again, I think that's why 37%. The other 63% of you just don't, because you're like, why? I'm not going to anyway. But this is what you got to know. This is not how to accomplish your New Year's resolution series. This is not what this series is about. I just want you to know it. It's not what it's about. It's not what it's about. This is a constant. And the word constant means, daily, hourly, in every moment, in every interaction, in every thought, in every decision. Spiritual desire. I'm talking a desire that comes, that wells up deep within you, a spiritual desire that infuses, leaks into, permeates, wraps itself around every aspect, every decision, every financial decision, every relational interaction, every mental health pursuit, every aspect of your life. Series. Now, I don't know if this is all grammatically correct. I'm not sure if this is a complete thought, complete sentence. I don't even know if this is the best way to say it. In fact, I love pithy little memorable statements, and this is not pithy or that memorable, but it does reveal where we're going in this entire series, Elevate. It is a constant spiritual desire that infuses into every aspect of my life, your life, series. Now, the word elevate was chosen very intentionally. And the word elevate in the dictionary, there's a verb form and an adjective form. In the adjective form, we would use it like an elevated blood pressure or an elevated conversation. It's the adjective verb form or adjective form. The verb form, that's the form of elevate we're going to focus on in this entire series. Elevate as an action, elevate as a verb. And there's two main definitions that get attached to this word elevate. The first one is this: to raise or lift something up to a higher position. Right? This is right, to raise or lift something higher position. The second one is to raise to a more important or impressive level. The key word in both of these is to raise, right? To elevate. Now, the first one, to raise or lift something to a higher position, that there's a physical aspect of that, right? To raise your hand, right? It's to raise or lift something to a higher position. The second one is more of a mental, if I maybe even dare say spiritual pursuit, to raise to a more important or impressive level. In both of these definitions, it's going to help as we navigate through our time today and over the next several weeks. Our constant spiritual desire that infuses into every aspect of our lives series. Now, what you have to decide, what you have to choose. I can't do this for you. What you have to decide, what you have to choose is who and what to elevate. That's the someone and something. We are constantly elevating someones and some things. It's happening most of the time without even thinking. But you're just going to have to choose. I can't do this for you. I can't make you do this. I can't bend your arm to get you to do this. This has to come. Again, this is that constant spiritual desire that infuses into every aspect. You're just going to have to choose who and what to elevate. Now, to set kind of the direction, to kind of lay a solid foundation, we're going to be looking at a story that the Apostle Paul tells us in the Gospel of John. The gospel just simply means it's the story of Jesus. And so John, who walked with Jesus, listened to Jesus, he was taught by Jesus, he was mentored by Jesus. He's telling this story, and it's really early on, in the life of Jesus' public ministry. And where we pick up with the story, you can follow along in John chapter 3 with me. We're told that now John also was baptizing. Now, there's two Johns here, so I don't want you to get confused. Now John also is baptizing. That John is John the Baptist. The one telling the story in the Gospel of John is John the Apostle. Two different Johns. And over the time, they put this label, John the Baptist, on John the Baptist to differentiate between John the Apostle. Now, John the Baptist's name wasn't John the Baptist. The word Baptist was more specifically baptizer, so they called him John the Baptizer. And it just morphed over the years to John the Baptist, just to say, hey, that's that John, and John the Apostle John is John the Apostle John, who wrote the Gospel of John the Apostle John, who wrote 1st, 2nd, and 3rd John the Apostle John, who wrote Revelation. So you got the John the Apostle, who's telling the story, and John the Baptist, who's at the center of this story. Now, if you're part of our Christmas services, I talked about John the Baptist's dad, Zechariah. He's the first one mentioned, connected to the Christmas story. So if you remember Christmas services, this is John the Baptist's dad is Zechariah. Okay. So now John the Baptist, also was baptizing at Aenon near Salim because there was plenty of water, very practical, there was water there, and people were coming and being baptized. Now, an argument, disagreement, people not seeing eye to eye developed between some of John's disciples. John was a spiritual leader, considered a rabbi. And so they had disciples, they had followers, they had people they mentored. I mean, just why Jesus, right from the beginning, started to shoulder tap and bring in a group of 12 of his disciples. And those disciples had their disciples. This was just a common thing to do in spiritual leadership, spiritual mentorship. So John the Baptist had his disciples. And what we're told is this argument developed between some of them and a certain Jew over the matter of ceremonial washing. Now, in the Jewish culture, ceremonial washing was very common. In fact, around the temple in Jerusalem, they would have different washing pools where people would go in and perform this ceremonial washing. And what Jesus did, and he did this in multiple different areas, Jesus would take something that was very specific to the Jewish culture and Jewish faith, and then he took it and expanded it to all people. He did that with baptism. In Matthew 28, he says, go and baptize everyone, right? He took this ceremonial washing, this baptizing component of the Jewish faith, and he said, hey, this is now for everyone. He did it with communion. They were having the Passover feast, and he took something that was very Jewish, and then he said, hey, this is going to be for all people. In fact, it's why we take communion together during our church services throughout different Sundays throughout the year. Right? So Jesus takes these very Jewish spiritual faith customs, traditions, and then he elevates them for all people. And they were having a disagreement. They were having an argument over this ceremonial washing. So John the Baptist's disciples, right? They came to John. This is like a child coming to you as a parent, right? To say, hey, mom, dad, Johnny isn't, right? And you got to solve it, right? So the disciples are coming to John the Baptist like, hey, there's an issue. We're not going to solve it. You have to. And this was the issue. They said, Rabbi, that man, who's that man? Jesus. They're like, hey, that man, that Jesus guy who is with you on the other side of the Jordan, the one that you testified about, the one you talked about, the one that you have shared stories about, the one that you keep on kind of giving attention to, that man. And listen to what they said. Look, he is baptizing and everyone is going to him. You see the issue? Do you feel the tension? This is what they're saying. They're like, hey, John, your popularity was at an all-time high. I mean, John had come on the scenes and he had gathered, to put it in today's terms, tens of thousands and hundreds of thousands of followers on social media. John the Baptist came on the scene and he quickly became an influencer. I mean, everyone was talking about John the Baptist. But now that man, Jesus, his popularity, his follower base was quickly outpacing John the Baptist. And they came to him, said, you got to stop this. You were the most popular person, and now that man is becoming more popular. Everyone was looking to you, John, but now they're looking at that man, Jesus. Everyone was rushing and running to get baptized by you, but now they're looking to him. Hey, John, you better do something. And you better do it now. John had a choice to make, to choose who and what to elevate. He had a choice. Someone, something. He had a choice. Now, I don't think John made the decision in this moment on who or what to elevate. I don't think he waited until right then when all of a sudden the pressure is on. His disciples are circling around him. They're all saying, hey, you got to do something. He's more popular. He's gaining more followers. Everyone's going to him. Now you got to do something. I don't think this was the moment where he decided. I think he decided months, years before. Because I think somewhere within John the Baptist, he knew exactly who and what to elevate. And John, looking at his disciples, these were people close to him. These were people that he had handpicked. These were people that he had poured into. They had done life together. They ate meals together. Relationally, they were really close. And John looks at them and he says, a person can only receive what is given them from heaven. They would have kind of tilted their head a little bit. You see, John is so intentionally saying to them, hey, there's a choice here. And I fully realize who and what to elevate. What John is saying is, hey, you got to physically look up. Heaven is a physical look up. And there's an elevation of importance. He goes, look up. There's someone more important than me. He goes, you yourselves cannot testify that, or can testify that I said. He goes, hey, you've heard me teach about. You have heard me share stories about. You have heard me over and over and over again talk about that man, Jesus. And you've heard me say, I am not the Messiah, but I am sent ahead of him. I know my purpose. I know what I've been called to do. Jesus is the Messiah. I'm just called to go ahead of him, to pave the path ahead of him, to point people to him. And then he gives an illustration that everyone gets 2,000 years ago, and well, we all get to this day. He goes, the bride belongs to the bridegroom, and the friend who attends the bridegroom, in our modern language, we'd say that friend is the best man, right? The best man attends, the best man serves the groom, the best man helps plan out the events and orders the supplies. Like the best man, right, wants to do everything he can to make sure that that day is special for his best friend, the groom. And John's like, hey, the friend who tends the bridegroom waits and listens for him and is full of joy when he hears the bridegroom's voice. The friend, the best man, right, does all the hard work in the shadows, does all the hard work when no one's watching, but then everyone comes to see the bride and the bridegroom, and now the friend, the best man, kind of just slips back, so the spotlight shines on him. And John goes, that's where my joy comes from. He goes, that joy is mine, and it's now complete. My purpose, why I came, what I've been doing, what I've been teaching you and telling you and pointing people to Jesus. I've done what I've called to do. But then John says something that I tell you. This insight, this truth is something that you should just grab your arms, your hands, and just wrap around. You see, this is everything. This is everything. He goes, he must become greater, and I must become less. Again, I don't think John came up with those words in that moment at all. I think for months, years leading up to that moment, he knew that Jesus was greater and that he was less. That Jesus must increase and that he must decrease. I think John spiritually, in a constant spiritual desire that's infused into every aspect of his life. He knew that this moment was coming for him to step into the shadows so that Jesus would soar. And if they didn't get it in that moment, John went on and says, the one who comes from above is above all. Right? This is elevated, raised to the next level of importance. The one who is from the earth belongs to the earth and speaks as one from the earth. The one who comes from heaven, again, he's just reiterating, he's like, is above all. I mean, literally above all. Above all. Lift your heads. He's looking at his disciples like, just lift your heads to heaven. He's above all. And in importance, he's above all. You see, when we designed the series graphic for Elevate, we were really, really intentional in designing this image. And I didn't want you to miss the intentionality of it. You see, the V in Elevate is like an arrow pointing down, and that just reflects we must become less. We must decrease. We must lower ourselves. And the A in Elevate has everything to do with, well, he must increase. He must become greater. And these two actions are in one motion as we lower ourselves and lift our heads to honor, to worship, to praise the one who is above all. You see, this entire series, you're going to have to choose who and what to elevate. I can't make you do this. I can't use the best words to convince you to do this. You have to have a constant spiritual desire that infuses into every aspect of your life. And this is what I trust. You're here, you're watching, you're listening, you're engaging. So I think you have that desire. So in this series, what I want to try to help you do is to give you 3 daily pursuits. That was the best word I could come up with. You could use the word actions, you could use the word commitments, 3 daily actions, 3 daily, it doesn't matter. I like the word pursuit because it's like it positions the heart to say, I'm going to give my all, I'm going to give my best. And these 3 daily pursuits or commitments or actions, it's not New Year's resolution stuff. It has nothing to do with checking boxes. This is the constant, daily, hourly, minutely, in every moment, in every interaction, in every obstacle, in every valley, in every relationship, in every aspect of your life, right? To infuse that spiritual desire into every aspect of your life. So these 3 daily pursuits, we're going to be looking at each 3 of them, but one is, it's about start. And it's not just to start your day. That's going to be one aspect of it. But it's in every moment how you start. In every decision, where you start. In every relational friction moment, where you start. In your marriage, in every conversation, where do you start? This is infusing into every aspect on a constant pursuit, right? So this is just your go-to start point, no matter what aspect of your life it is. This is a constant start. The second one is something you're going to have to fight. And again, we'll talk about how to fight, but you're going to have to fight. And this is constant. And it leads to the third pursuit, something you're going to have to embrace. And if you put these 3, start, to fight, to embrace, these 3 things, in your constant pursuit, in your daily pursuit, what you're going to see happen is you're going to become less, and he's going to become greater. And this will transform every aspect of your life. How you view relationships, how you view money and finances, how you view your physical health and your mental health, how you navigate through big decisions and small decisions. This can, will, and maybe I should even say must, change every aspect of your life. So this week, these are the words I want you to memorize. He must become greater. I must become less. He must increase. I must decrease. Wake up in the morning, say those words. Get in your car and say those words. As you navigate through your day, just keep saying those words. Hey, God, my pursuit, 2024, you must increase. I must decrease. Let's pray. Lord, I just ask. that our constant spiritual desire, that's infused to every aspect of our life. That you must become greater. And that we must become less. In your name I pray. Amen.